Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Teas at dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Hey guys, this is Ernest James, host of the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, and I got a question to ask you. Could you buy me a cheeseburger? Better yet, could you buy me a value meal? Yes? Well, guess what? I don't need a value meal. However, for the cost of a value meal, you can support this podcast to keep us on the air. Just go to Patreon/Deal to Heal podcast and choose any one of the 3 tiers that's available. And if you just want to make a one-time donation, go to Cash App and make a donation to $EJames, the number 418. Make a one-time donation to the Cash App, or again, go to Patreon to support this podcast and keep us on the air. Thanks in advance. Be blessed. Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. Therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, to heal, and to fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you listen, like, subscribe, and share to the podcast. Make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page and our podcast on Spotify. And if you're finding information and value from our podcast, then don't keep it to yourself, but share it with somebody else. Let somebody else know that we're out here doing big things. All right. And also, I'm going to tell you guys how you can win $100 from the podcast. Right. I'm telling you guys how you can win $100 from the podcast, but you got to stay until the end in order to get that information. So also, guys, make sure you guys are going and checking out our ebooks at ebooks.ejames.com, which is where our ebooks are. Definitely have some things there for you to purchase to support the podcast, help keep us on the air. So that's what we got going on right now. So we're gonna jump right into it today. Just like any other day, we are blessed with a guest, Mr. Charles Larry. How you doing?
Doing well, sir. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. First of all, let me say thank you for being here, because I know you could be doing anything else, but you took out time to be here with me and my listeners, and I definitely appreciate it. So I want you to know that up front. Welcome. So we're going to jump right in it. And one thing that I know about you, that you are a girl dad. And so when I have a girl dad on, my first 2 questions is always, what does it mean to you to be a girl dad? And what is something that your daughter has taught you?
Oh, wow. What do it mean to be a girl dad? That's a good question. It means to be, to me, a protector, someone who gives guidance, someone who gives the example of what a husband, a father, a son, a brother should be. one of the things that I've done with my girls was I try to emulate the man that I would want them one day to be attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
A man that's family oriented, a man who loves God and serves Jesus with his whole heart, a man who will put her on a pedestal but not put her on the throne. Do that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that.
So now pertaining to the second part, bruh, it's a lot because you when you raising girls, right? You because they're so soft and they're so sensitive, there's a certain way you handle them that you don't handle boys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with females, you like I want my daughters to be independent. I don't want them to have to depend on a man. You get what I'm saying? I want them to be able to move and navigate through life, you know what I mean, with or without one, right?
Right.
Of course, with the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Um, but at the same time, it's it's harder to tell them no than it is to tell your son no, right? So we, we want to be cautious with that only because you don't want to raise a woman, because that's how I'm saying it. I'm looking for the adult that I plan to
Right.
put out into society. So you don't want to rear up a child who's hearing, yeah, yeah, baby, yeah, go ahead, yes, 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 yes. Now you have this grown woman who's entered into society, whereas she's hearing no, 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 no. But because she wasn't raised to hear no, only yes, now that creates a whole another level of problems. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
A
yeah.
whole nother level of daddy phone calls, and I don't know why he this, I don't know why he that, I don't know why they this. And the whole time it's because you didn't raise her to hear no. You only raised her to hear yes. So when she enter into that world where she's gonna hear no more than she hear yes, she's not gonna know how to navigate it confidently. You know what I mean? So
That's good, man. And um, so at the time of recording this, I just started my other podcast called the Girl Dad Discussions Podcast, which we definitely have to have you on because one of the things that I read an article, right, and the article was talking. It was from a young lady who was talking about her father, and it was saying how her father raised her to be independent, like you just said. With being able to do things on her own, be self-sufficient. And so we're not gonna have this conversation here, but I'm just saying it because it came up and then you just mentioned it, that I'm going to talk about on that platform is, raising your daughter to be independent, but without the independent attitude. You know what I'm saying? Because that the whole miss independent as adult men, when you're dealing with a woman with a miss independent attitude, like that's a whole nother monster. So you want your daughter to be independent, but you don't want her to have the miss independent
yeah,
attitude. You know what I mean? And so that, finding that balance as fathers, but that's a whole nother. We definitely gonna have to have you on the Girl Dare Discussions podcast because
let me
that
know.
was something that was on my mind. And so I know that's gonna be a good conversation. So now since we're here and we're gonna get into this podcast. So do me a favor, Charles, introduce yourself because we just jump right in and start talking. Introduce yourself to my listeners and tell them who you are and what it is that you do.
My name is Charles Larry the Third. I'm a father of six. I'm a husband. I'm a born again believer. I love Jesus and I follow Him with my whole heart. What I do is I help people find the route to who they're supposed to be. I believe everything that has been created to solve a problem. The phones that we talk on,
Mhm.
the the devices that we're recording on, the lights, everything has been created to solve a problem. We too have been created to solve a problem, right? So I believe the problem that I've been created to solve, along with serving the people, is also to help people find that problem that they have been created to solve. Also, um, right now I'm studying and I'm diving into the whole mental health and suicide prevention, because there's a lot of hurting people out there, and a lot of times we go through things and we don't actually know how to get the help that we need. So with this book that I've written, with the information that I'm gathering, with the information that I'm putting out there, man, it's just to help to relieve the pain and the suffering, man, that we are experiencing in this world, and that's causing us to lose a lot of our loved ones. Just to sum it up, bro.
Right, right, right. So I'm gonna go back a little bit to where we met,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so those of you all who listen to the podcast, you definitely know that I'm a speaker, and so we're part of a speakers community,
Mm-hmm.
and so we had a meeting, should I say, earlier this year at the time of recording this podcast. And you were there and you had on the shirt that you have on now. And we had never met, but I seen the shirt. I was there with a friend of mine and she saw the shirt also and was intrigued about it. And so I came over and introduced myself and asked you about, what the shirt meant and everything. And you kind of, went into telling me the story behind the behind the word stay and the story behind the movement. And so I definitely was intrigued by it, and wanted to have you on. And then after you came out with the book, what we'll definitely talk about also, I'm like, okay, I definitely gotta get you on now, because not only do you have a story, but now you have a resource, you know what I mean, for those who are listening to the who are listening to it, to talk about, to learn from. So do me a favor, just go and tell the story about, how you even came up with the whole process. The same story you told me,
Okay.
but share with our listeners so, they know the backstory and why this is so important to you.
Okay. Um, One day, about a year and a half ago, I noticed this tattoo on my daughter's forearm. Now, at the time of me noticing this tattoo, she's 20 years old. So I didn't pay no attention to the tattoo. It didn't stand out of nothing important. It just STAY, period. That's it. Cause she have a few other tattoos. It might be some numbers, a line, or something. So again, I just thought it was just another random tattoo that she's gotten. So I didn't put no. So one day, her and my grandson came over to visit. At this time, I'm in the shower, and the Holy Spirit begins to speak to me concerning this tattoo, and He began to tell me the meaning behind it, which was a reminder to her to stay alive, to stay on this side of the dirt. So again, I'm in the shower and I'm going back and forth with the Holy Spirit. I'm going back and forth with him like, no, no way. There's no way that I would miss that level of pain. Now you talking about a father who's never seen any signs, right? Of a child struggling so bad that they want to commit suicide. We're talking about suicide, right? So in my head, no, I wouldn't have missed that. Like I would see the pain. I would see somebody struggling, right? Because in my head, I'm looking at the now. I'm not
Mhm.
looking in the past. So I'm looking at what she could be dealing with now. I'm thinking maybe it's a relationship with the father of a kid. Maybe this is what he's talking about. But still in all, I'm like, no. I wouldn't have missed that level of pain. So we go back and forth. So now at this point, I'm in a rush to complete this shower just so I can have this conversation with my daughter. So I come around the corner. She's sitting in the living room, and I come out, and I'm trying to be, I'm trying not to show any emotions, or I'm not trying to trigger her defense mechanisms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
asked her. I said, Diamond, that's my daughter's name. I said, Diamond, what do that stay mean on your arm? And instantly, her eyes started to well up with tears. She began to cry, and at that moment, it was like, ah, it's true, right? Again, now I'm thinking it's pertaining to something that's happening now, currently, with the
Mm-hmm.
father of a son. You know what I mean? So still in awe, and I'm like, Diamond, like, what could you possibly be going through? You know what I mean? That you want to take your life, or you don't want to be here anymore. Like, what pain can you be experiencing, right? Because it's not registering to me that, you know what I mean? Like, people who, in my head, people who's experiencing a great deal of pain to the point to where you want to take your life, to me there should be some signs, right? But I didn't recognize the signs. So she says to me, she says, Dad, it's not so much as now. It was when I was 9. Man,
Mm-hmm.
bro, that it hit me. It hit me so hard, and I'm like, 9? Like what? 9 years old? You get what I'm saying? So she was like, yeah, there was a relationship. She was in a relationship with this one guy, and then she lost her best friend and this relationship with this individual that she was in. So because she believed in her mind that because her mom and I was already kind of dealing with some behavioral issues with our older two kids, so she didn't want to be an added burden. So she kept all of that to herself. And in the process of keeping all of this pain on the inside of herself, she begins to cut herself because in
Mm-hmm.
her mind, this was a pain she could control, and it took her mind off of the pain of the heartbreak and the loss of relationships. Now, mind you, all of this is hitting me hard. It's hitting me
Definitely.
hard, and one of the ways that it hit me the most hardest was because, one, I couldn't go back to that 9 year old. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't comfort that 9 year old. I couldn't tell that 9 year old that it's gonna be okay because I missed that opportunity. I missed that opportunity, and I say I missed that opportunity because the signs was there. I just didn't know that they were signs. I saw the way she isolated herself. She would always come over, like I would get her every week, every other weekend, and every Wednesday. So it was this room that I had set up for her and my other two kids. And she had this poly playhouse with all of these little poly dolls and this playhouse. So whenever she would come over, she would just get deep into this poly playhouse. And I'm just thinking, oh, she just wanted to play with these dolls. Missed that sign, the isolation. Then there was another sign. It showed the darkness that she was in because she had wrote a poem or a story. I'm not quite sure which one it was. Again, we're talking 10, 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So in this poem, I remember the title being "I Hate Rainbows." So I'm reading it, and in my head I'm thinking how, like what? You hate rainbows? So I asked, I said, Diamond, why do you hate rainbows? Something that is so beautiful, like colorful, like how? Because in my head I can't. How can you hate rainbows, right? So she says to me, she says, Dad, it's not that I hate the real rainbows. I hate my friend rainbows. Now, here was an opportunity again for me to say, "Oh, baby, let's talk about it." You know what I mean? Dive deeper into the conversation with her and just figure out what it is and how I could really help her. But I didn't. I kind of brushed it off and was like, you know what? You guys are young. You're friends. Friends make each other mad. Friends break up and they get back together. Different things like that. So I brushed it completely off the whole time. The whole time. She's suffering with suicidal ideation. You know what I mean? She's cutting herself. You know what I mean? And I'm missing all of this because I saw the signs. I just didn't know that they were signs.
Right.
But something as serious as suicidal thoughts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have one question. First, I got a statement and a question. So first of all, with the question, did she ever explain to you what was behind the rainbows? Because I know she said it was her, she hated her friends' rainbows, but did she ever just tell you what that actually meant?
The friend name was Rainbow.
Oh, okay.
So as I'm reading this title, that's what I'm saying. Like I thought she was saying that this whole poem, this song, whatever it was describing how she hate rainbows. So when I asked her about it, she told me it's not that she hate the real rainbow that you see when the rain and the clouds,
Right.
all of that. She hated her friend named Rainbow. You know what I mean? That was so
Yeah.
poetic, bro. Like,
Yeah. And
that
one of the reasons why what made me think of that was when I was younger, and it's crazy how the things that you remember. One of our books that I remember reading when I was probably it'd be like an English class or something, and the name of this story was A Month of Sundays, right? And so I'm like, oh, A Month of Sundays, and I remember of course, the title itself was catchy, intriguing, and mind you, I'm young at this time, but what the story was about was a young boy whose parents were separated. And so he only got to see his father on Sundays. And so his thing was, I wish I could have a month of Sundays, And so that's what, when you just said that, that's what came to my mind. It's like, wow, when you think about the words behind and the meaning behind a story, a title, you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? And there is so much to it. And that's what came to my mind. But another thing that I wanted to mention about, like you said, pay attention to the signs. So those who have listened to the podcast definitely have heard me talk about my experience with suicidal thoughts and everything after my mom passed away, and that whole journey that I went through with it. And um, when I started sharing it on the podcast, one of my sisters called me and she's like, how was it that you went through this whole period of wanting to kill yourself? And I don't know. You know what I'm saying? As again, she was saying the same thing you were saying. Like, how did I miss, how did I miss the signs? Why didn't it stand out or whatever? And I was telling her, well, first of all, it's not like you walk around with a big sign that says, I want to, I
Right.
want to kill myself. You
Right.
know what I mean? I said, a lot of the times it's all internal, and when it's internal, which is one of the reasons why I like to have the conversation now, because I want it to be a conversation we have all the time, so that when we or whoever it is get to the point where they're feeling some type of way, because it's common for us to have the conversation, it's easy for me to reach out for help. You know what I mean? But because, especially at that time, we weren't having the conversations. I wasn't definitely having the conversation. I had my own preset mindset on what it was for people who even thought about, committing suicide. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have my own thing. Like, that's selfish. Why would you do that? Because you in your pain, but then you send, the pain doesn't go away. It just go into the family members that you leave behind. And, this is my whole thought process before my experience, And so when I had my experience and I began to realize, it's not that, they don't, they're not thinking about their family members or loved ones, because definitely I was, but you're just in this space of depression and hurt, and you don't feel like you can find a way out. You know what I mean? And so it just took me on a whole another journey and opened up my eyes, which is why I'm so vocal about it now, about my experience. And I want to have these conversations with men like yourself, definitely with men, because we oftentimes suffer in silence, but then just in men first, in the black community second, you know what I'm saying? And within our families and our loved ones, so that we make it normal to have these conversations. Because especially what I found now is it's a lot more common now, especially coming out of the pandemic. It's a lot more common. The thoughts is a lot more common. A lot of people are dealing with stuff that they don't feel like they have a way out. You know what I mean? And so we have to make the conversation more, common, so that it makes it easier for us to reach out for help and to look for help. So one of the things that I know you talk about, even in the process, when you start going through your process of finding your feet, getting your feet back under you, and looking for that light, that ray of hope, at the end of the tunnel, that it's a process to go through. And I know you kind of talk about, the process and putting your trust in the process. So talk to us a little bit about that, just like the process that you've learned that it kind of takes to go through to find that light at the end of the tunnel, to give you the strength to hold on. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Um, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, "So a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Now, if we're gonna talk suicide prevention, preventing a person from getting to the place of where they have decided to take their own life, right? So then we have to back up and acknowledge our self talk, right?
Mhm.
What we talk about, what we tell ourselves, which starts with the thoughts, right? Starts with the thoughts before any action, before you do anything. I don't care what it is, before any action take place, it's going to be a thought first. So depending on what you do with that thought will determine the feeling. First it's a thought, then it's a feeling, right? That feeling becomes an action, right? So there's also another scripture that tells us how to think, what to think on. Think on things whatsoever is true, whatsoever is pure, whatsoever is just, whatsoever is lovely. I like to use this analogy. Okay, let's say you have a negative thought that pop up in your head, past experience, whatever, because it's not gonna be a new thought. It's all old thoughts. They're all previous thoughts until a new one is created. So you have this negative event that happened in your life. This negative event, attached to this negative event, is a experience, a feeling. Okay. Now you already know what this feeling, what this thought is going to produce. Okay, because you've experienced it
Mhm.
before. So I like to use this analogy. When that thought comes in your head, that's the perfect opportunity to destroy it. Picture it as if you plant a seed in the ground. When that seed, after it's been watered, a little light, a little nourishment, whatever is going on under the soil, and once that seed begins to sprout, right? You have that little stem, maybe one leaf. That's the perfect opportunity to destroy it. When it sprout, when that thought pop in your head, pluck it out. Okay? Because here's what happens if you do not. Now you're giving it permission to exist. You giving it energy. The more you ponder on it, the more
Mhm.
you meditate on it, the more now it's creating a feeling. Now that's what was once a sprout, a stem, and a leaf has now grown into an oak tree Okay, so which one you think is going to be harder to destroy? As soon as that thought pop in your head, or now it's an oak tree because you didn't add it so much meditation, you didn't ponder on it so much. Now you need a axe to chop it down. Now you're trying to say, no, I can't think about this. I can't think about that. You see, it takes a lot more energy. It takes a lot more out of you. You get what I'm saying? Because now that thought with that event, with that experience, with that feeling attached to it, and if you have multiple negative thoughts, multiple negative feelings, now what that feeling, those collective of feelings create is an attitude. You have a negative thought, negative thought, negative thought, negative thought, negative thought. Now you've created an attitude. Now you walk around, what you looking at? Why are you looking at me like that? What's your problem? Because you've created this attitude with these thoughts, vice versa. If you mad, you having good thoughts, you having good thoughts, good thoughts, good thoughts, good thoughts. That produces a good feeling. Now you have a good attitude, right? So nobody wakes up in the morning and say, I'm going to take my life. Nobody does that. There's life events, okay, that takes place in our life. And with these life events, what's the story you telling yourself about this event? You see what I'm saying? What is your perception of this event? You get what I'm saying? What are you telling yourself? So for instance, someone who the boss sent them an email and say, I need you to come into my office when you get into work, right? Now, what's the story you gonna tell yourself is gonna determine whether when you go from being anxious, right, to now it's becoming stress. You get what I'm saying? There's anxiety, there's depression, and then there's the thoughts of suicide. Because from that depression, from that place of hopelessness, now you're going into it thinking like there's no way out of it, all because of the story you told yourself. Okay, yes, it's a fact. The truth is your boss want to see you. But the story you tell yourself is, oh man, what if he finna fire me? What if he talking about all of the times that I was absent? And you see, now the story, now that story you constantly telling yourself, the nervousness. You get what I'm saying? So now you stressing. Now it's the fear. All of these is kicking in. So you then went from an email to stress, anxiety, to depression over what we tell ourselves. So I believe if we can control the thoughts, we can control the feeling, the attitude. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
I hope that
definitely.
answers your question, bro. I'm trying to control myself because you know me, like I'm trying to stick to
Right. No, but that's good. That's good, man. So let's talk a little bit about the book. Let's talk a little bit about the book. So you wrote the book and surprised me because we hadn't talked in a while, and you just dropped it. You know what I mean? So we have those of you don't know, we have a little podcast group. You know, whether we kind of me and some other podcasters, we kind of keep in touch with each other. And Charles had been MIA for a while, so I hadn't talked to him and hadn't heard from him. And just the other day, he just drops right in the middle of the chat, just drops this link, right? So I was like, oh, what is the link? And then I hit this link, and it goes to the Amazon. It goes to the Amazon page for the book, and I'm like, oh, really? That's how we doing it? We just gonna drop a book on us? You know what I mean? You need to tell us you was working on it or not, to just drop a book, you know? And so, but I was excited about it, and we had a whole conversation about it. Because like I told you, you know, at the time, and we're not gonna get into this because this could be a whole nother thing. We talked about God's timing, but I let you know that, you know, when I saw that, it was at a time that I needed to see it. You know what I mean? And because I was going through my own things with even finishing my book and things like that. So when I seen it, it definitely was an inspiration to me, to keep going and to finish, the work that I was working on. But just talk us a little bit about the process and how it even came to the point where you was like, you know what, let me do this book.
Okay. So again, it goes back to right around the time when I noticed this tattoo on my daughter's arm. And so right before I noticed the tattoo on my daughter's arm and the Holy Spirit gave me the revelation of that, my son had lost a friend to suicide the year prior. So just comforting him through that, man, and seeing the pain and just trying to keep him encouraged and keep him inspired so that he didn't derail, right? From that, and then it was the stay on my daughter's arm. I recognized that, and the move came when my wife has a coworker who was admitted into the uh, the psych ward because of her thoughts of committing suicide. So when my wife when my wife tells me about her coworker, she calls me. She's at work and they find out or whatever. So she calls me to pray for them. And so in the process of me listening to her and then me having a conversation with God concerning just keep her, just give her the strength she need, give her the encouragement she need, different things like that. God allowed me to feel that place of hopelessness. He took me back through the years, those moments in my life when I felt hopeless, when I was dark, when I was like looking down that dark tunnel of just like, man, what man, God, like it's got to be more to life than this. So I'm from the south side of Chicago. I got into gangs at a young age, a very young age, because I felt like in my head I perceived my parents didn't love me because of just the physical discipline. So I got in the gang at 12 years old. By the time I was 16 years old, I had a high ranking position in this gang. And so that led me through these years of a lot of learning from experiences, different things like that. So there's a lot of darkness, you know what I mean, that was in my life at that time. So as God is causing me to feel this pain, this place of hopelessness, whether it was with my wife co-worker, then I'm feeling the pain of my daughter at 9 years old, like then what my son, what his friend must have been experiencing. So I get it. I understand it because when I was in that place, it was more self-medicating for me. So I drink, I smoked weed. I'm trying to numb the pain of my reality. I'm trying to escape the pain that I was feeling. Whereas it's only by the grace of God that I was able to make it out of that. So I began to cry out to God, God, like, help me, or what is it that I can do? And he began to put me on this whole mental health and suicide prevention. So in the process of taking courses, man, and courses and research and courses and research. And so at the time, that's all I'm doing is I'm just learning so that I can have a conversation, so that when people do call me and ask me for help, I know how to get them the help that they need. And so probably about a good 3 months ago, man, as I'm going through a lot of the notes from the courses, because what I wanted to do was start to put out some YouTube videos, some Facebook, some little shorts, just giving some little bit, 3 minutes or a minute clips of information on how to identify the signs. So this one particular day, I'm going through my notes so that I can create a video. And God told me to now put it put it in book form. And I'm like, what? Like a book, bro? Like we tried this already. About good, man, 15 years ago, I started to write a book on my life. You get what I'm saying? And how God has brought me through a lot of this, from the streets to salvation, you know what I mean? Different things like that. But my computer crashed. So I lost all of that information, man. So it wasn't nothing that I wanted to get into again, because, man, when I did, it brought up so much darkness. It brought up so much of the pain that I've been through and that I put other people through. So it wasn't nothing that I was trying to get to do, but because of my desire to be obedient, because of my desire to be the man that God has created me to be, I was obedient, and I just started compiling all of this information, man, into an ebook. I felt like my biggest thing was I saw the signs, I just didn't know they were signs. So a lot of families are not as lucky as I was. My daughter is still here. You get what I'm saying? But what about the ones who child is not here? Or what about the ones who child is experiencing this place of darkness, and you interacting with your kid, you seeing your kid, but you don't know? So I wanted to equip parents, family members, co-workers, friends with a tool that can help them to identify the warning signs, to help them to identify, you know what I mean, when someone is hurting, when someone is dealing with something internally. What just to piggyback on something you said, as far as how men, we don't talk about this stuff, man, because men is raised to, you don't show your feelings. We don't wear our feelings on our sleeve. We don't show public affection. You don't go to nobody and say, you don't know what to do. You can't figure this out. Oh, I need help. No, because we're problem solvers. So figure it out. But nobody is telling us or teaching us how to figure it out, how to deal with those thoughts and those feelings. Or when I don't know what to do, what do I do with that? Do I reach out now and ask for help, or do I internalize it? Which is now, it's affecting my identity. It's affecting how I cope. It's affecting my relationships. It's affecting my how I bond with people, my lack of trust with people, because I was told what I shouldn't be doing, but I wasn't told what I should do. So this book, man, this journey that I'm on is to equip people with information to help you to identify when someone is off. You get what I'm saying? When they're dealing with something internally, when their thinking has changed just by paying attention to their behavior.
Okay. All right. All right. So, man, Charles, I'm so glad I had you on, man. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I want you to get us. I want you to have the last word, right? And I want you to leave us with a thought of word of inspiration. Have you decide to do it, and definitely give us your social media handles and things like that, where we can find you, your website, and all of that. So I'll give you a chance to kind of think of how you want to leave it. To my listeners, thank you guys again for tuning in to the podcast. And I told you that I would tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast. So you can win $100 from the podcast by entering our super subscriber contest. And what that means is you must first subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Facebook page, to our Spotify podcast. Excuse me. And then text the word win, WIN, to the number 866-326-0730 in order to qualify to win $100 from the podcast. That's all you have to do. Again, enter our super subscriber contest. In order to enter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our Facebook page, and our podcast on Spotify. And after you've done those three things, text the word WIN, WIN, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win $100. The contest is ongoing and it's random. So at any time I can pull a name, whoever name I pull, you win $100. And it's just that simple. So, you just got to be in it in order to win it. Also, make sure you guys are checking out our websites, because our websites are up. The business website for our company, dealhealfulfill.org, is where you can find everything about that's going on with me as a speaker, the workshops that we have, the podcast, and we got another podcast that we just started that I mentioned earlier about the Girl Dare Discussions podcast is coming out. So we got a lot of things going on. So you can find out about all of that at dealhealfulfill.org. And also check out our ebooks at ebooksbyejames.com. Go there and you can get any of the ebooks that I have written already. And we got more to come. We got more to come. So make sure you guys are checking that out also. Last but not least, one of the things that I've been blessed to be a part of is an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. You can find us at theforgivenessmission.com. One of the things that we do, we have free virtual workshops every quarter of the year. And on these workshops, we talk about forgiveness, what it is, what is not, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the world, just a lot of different topics dealing with forgiveness. And it's free. We do it again. We do it every quarter of the year, so we do 4 of them a year. You have to go to Eventbrite and register for it, or just go to forgivenessmission.com in order to log on or register to be in on the next virtual workshop. So, with that being said, again, Charles, man, I love this conversation. Definitely have to connect again to get more into a little bit more. So I want you to have the last word, and I want you to leave us with just a word of inspiration, or however you feel. And again, with your social media information and where we can find the book, and even where we can follow you at. So again, thank you for being on, and the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me. Um, I find that our thinking is very, very important. So I would encourage you guys to monitor your thoughts. Okay? Stop self-tormenting yourself with those negative thoughts. Stop letting those negative thoughts, those counterproductive thoughts, those thoughts that don't move the needle, those thoughts that don't move you in a direction that you want to go in. Stop meditating on those thoughts. Stop pondering on those thoughts. Stop giving those thoughts permission to exist. Because here's the truth: we move in the direction of our strongest thought. I want you to think about that for a second. You move in the direction of your strongest thought. So if you're thinking you're a loser, you're going to move in that direction, because you're going to behave in a way that you believe about yourself. Because here's what I do understand: you cannot consistently behave in a way that's inconsistent with what you believe about yourself. So you might put on a facade and you might go out into the world and make it seem like everything is all good and dandy. But on the inside, there's a lot of turmoil. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of hurt. You understand what I'm saying? So talk to somebody. It's okay to talk to someone. Let someone know that you're hurting and that you don't know what to do. That's okay. Because here's the truth: what happened to you, that may not be your fault. But your healing, that's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to get the help that you need. We cannot control what people say and do to us. The only thing we can control is how we respond to it. So find a support team, find a group of people that you can be vulnerable with, that you can share your vulnerability, and you can say, I don't know what to do. And you don't have to worry about them judging you, tearing you down, but they'll get you to the help that you need. I'm not going to continue. I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to leave that right there because I feel something welling up on the inside of me. So I'm going to leave that right there. But here's where you can find me and hear more about what I'm doing. You can go to stayandlive.org. That's where you can purchase my ebook. You'll be able to purchase a physical paperback. The paperback, you can purchase that on Amazon right now. Just type in the word "stay" and Charles Larry III, and it'll pull it right up for you. Or you can go to Jhosheay, JHOSHEAY.com. That's my Shopify store where you'll find this t-shirt that I have on and the ebook. You'll be able to follow me. You can follow me on Instagram at stayandlive2. You can follow me on TikTok at stayandlive2. You can follow me on Facebook at stayandlive2. You can follow me on YouTube at stayandlive2. I think I got them all. But if not, just type in stayandlive2 anywhere, and you should be able to pull up more information about what I'm doing and how God is moving. So thank you for having me, bro.
No problem. Thank you for being on again. To my listeners, thank you guys for tuning in once again to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help people to deal, to heal, and to fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Hey guys, I know you're enjoying the podcast. However, don't forget to join our text line at 866-326-0730. That's 866-326-0730 in order to receive text messages with new events and things that is going on and new episodes as they release. All right, see you in a minute. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.